Welcome back. This is Dan Havey with CF Ninja Hacks, and in this video, we're going to tackle one of the most common issues I see with people in ClickFunnels, and let me widen my screen out here a little bit. And what it is we have a 4-column row. And what Andrea wanted was that in this first column here, that we have a full height image all the way from the top to the bottom in this first column. In the third column, same thing, full height image. And then the other thing is we have two dissimilar height columns right here. And so what we want is we want to have all 4 columns exactly the same height, and the images obviously going top to bottom, and the black here, of course, obviously coming all the way down to the bottom as well. Now, a lot of times what I'll see is people come in here and they'll try to put in different elements. They'll put in a headline element, but then try to take all the text out of it. Well, of course, I don't think that's going to work. Now, it didn't seem to work. Maybe if we put in a whole bunch of spaces, that might work. We could fill up a whole bunch of spaces there. Another thing I see people do is they'll come down and they'll take the divider element. And so now let's take a look at that divider element, and we're going to say, okay, let's put 30 at the top, and we want this to be a height of 60, but we want the color on this. Well, it's not going to let me go to transparent. That's fine. Then we can put some padding at the top and bottom, and then we'll just repeat this a bunch of times. Those are all really not very good because you're still not ever going to get to the point where you can absolutely line up everything to be the exact same height. And then the key part here is what happens is as we start making different viewport sizes, you're going to see here the text is going to change, and as soon as the text changes or an image changes, it's going to cause everything to go to different heights. So let's take everything back out of this column and show you how is the best way to get this done. And that is with really what comes down to, like, I think it's like 4 lines, maybe 5 lines of CSS code. So let's just take a look at what we have here. First off, we're going to do a container of 100% just so we can go all the way out to the edges on the page. And then the next thing we're going to say is we want to, I have here flex row, we want to display that row flex. So let's save this here and let's preview this just so we can see what we're looking at inside of the developer tool. And as you can see here, the first and the third columns, although we put in a background image, we're seeing nothing at all. So let's take a look here, and we have our row right here, and I gave it a data title of, not that row, yeah, here it is, data title of flex row. And then all I did was to give that then the CSS of display flex, which I have down here, but I got the little slash in front of it, so it's a syntax error and it killed the line. But what we want to do is we want to take all 4 of these columns and we want to flex them. And by flexing them, even though they are already side by side, what flex automatically does is it gives all of them exactly the same height. Now, there are ways where you can change the height on what you flex, but in this case here, we want the default, which is all of them being exactly the same height. And so again, if you recall, if you've seen in my videos on using flex, we find the items that we want to flex, and then you go to their bounding elements, so whatever is the first parent element outside of everything you want to flex, you go in there, and that's where you say display flex. So let's go back into the columns again really fast, and let's come down to our column. When we go to our first column, and again here we set the background image in this, and it's one of these tall images. It's this one here in particular. And so now let me exit back out of here and check the settings here. Here I have fill 100% width and height. I'm not sure if I need that, so I'm going to change it to no repeat on the first column, and then we'll see what happens as we build this out, see if it shows up in here at all. It may not. It completely disappeared, so that's why I'm kind of experimenting right here with it, and that's the kind of thing you got to do. You got to look at it and go, okay, well, I'll click on this, what happened? I'll click on this, what happened? And you just have to play around with it till you get it to work. I mean, that's how I learn how to do this stuff. But now let's go into our CSS, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say display flex, and you're going to say, well, it did nothing. You're right, it didn't do anything. So let's just turn that back on for a second. Now the next thing we need to look at is there's going to be a bunch of padding on the sides of these columns. So let's come into our column, and right away here we see we got 15 padding on either side, and this is our inner content right there. So let's go in here, and so we're going to say in our flex row, the flex row is the parent element, the inner content is the child element, but because we're just calling that class, it'll be all of the children element with that class underneath the row that we put in our data title for. So we're going to say here padding of unset, and you see when I did that there, the columns, all of the white right in here, that's all going to go away because we just took out the padding. And then what do we want to say? We want to say, okay, let's come in one layer further, and we come down to the class here of call inner, and we want to make the class of call inner, all of them, 100%. So let's just come down to this one right here, the call inner. This will be this column over here, and we're going to say right here, let me just turn this on. So we're going to say height of 100%. Well, you see, it didn't do anything because right now the height of 100% means give me 100% of whatever's already inside of the column. So it's not going to do anything until we turn the flex on. But now once we come back in, and let's take that off, now when we come in and we turn the flex on, therefore we got 100% height on this column, and let's turn this off. We got 100% height on this column and 100% on this column. And as you see, the first column did not work right. So let's come back in here and let's see here. Let's say we do 100% width. Did that do it? Yes, that gave it to us. And we also know already that 100% width and height also works. So just doing no repeat will not work. And of course, you're not going to want to use full parallax on this. And so then let us save this element, and then let's reload the page. And so now we have our 100% height on every single one of these. We have everything flexed. The only problem we have existing is this little sliver down here at the bottom, and that's because if we come in and we look at this, oops, I went down too far. Let me see here. Where are we? That's the wrong column. Here's the right column, and we come down inside of this. So we come down to our call inner, and I do believe it's in here. We have border 3px. So for some reason, I'm not sure if it's a setting, maybe it is a setting inside of the column, it says to put in a minus 3 pixel of border at the bottom, so we have to turn that off, and the line of CSS to turn that off would be right here. So we take that class again of border 3px, wherever it was, right here. So that class of border 3px, and we want to turn that off. And truthfully, what I should do is this right here. We will copy that, paste that into place, because again, we only want this happening on the row that we are flexing. Otherwise, if we had done it the way I had, every single element that had the class of border 3px would have had it set to 0. And we probably don't want that on other ones. I'm sure there's a really good reason why it's in there. But in our case, for what we're building here, everything exactly the same height, we want to turn that off. So let's save it and reload it one more time. And we should have 4 columns, all 100% height and looking as good as it can be. So, as always, got any questions, let me know.